Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Context channel, where we deep dive on current affairs and topics. Today, we are going to do a detailed analysis by an article that we recently came across on State of the American Economy. We are referring today to an article shared by renowned investor Michael W. Green and doing a detailed analysis from the viewpoints shared by the author in the article. The link to the article is in the description below. What if I told you that the official story of the American dream, the one where we're constantly getting richer and poverty is shrinking, is a complete systemic lie? Point. I want you to calculate something right now. How much income do you think a family of four needs to cover rent, utilities, food, basic transportation, and health insurance in 2024? If you said $31,200, you're wrong. That's the official government number, and it's a complete systemic lie. Let us get back to the discussion now. What if the true line separating poverty from financial adequacy is closer to $150,000? That's not a typo. That's the shocking conclusion reached by author Michael W. Green in his article, How a Broken Benchmark Quietly Broke America. This isn't just about statistics. This is about why the game feels rigged, why you're doing everything right. You have a good job, maybe two, and yet you're still terrified of one unexpected medical bill. We're talking about a broken benchmark, the US poverty line, that has warped our perception of wealth and poverty and fundamentally broken our economy. Stick around because we're going to trace this lie back to its origin, see how the economy invalidated it, and reveal the true cost of living. This video might make you angry, but it will also give you clarity. To understand the flaw, we go back 60 years to economist Molly Orshansky and the formula she developed for the Social Security Administration. It was a brilliant, elegant solution for its time. Orshansky found that in the 1960s, families spent roughly one-third of their take-home income on groceries. Therefore, the poverty line was defined as 3 times the minimum cost of a nutritious diet. It was mathematically sound, grounded in real-world consumption habits, and focused on food security as the primary measure of destitution. But here's the crucial mistake. In 1969, the formula was formally adopted as the official federal poverty measure, and critically, it was frozen in time. Since then, the only thing that's been adjusted is the initial number to keep up with general inflation. As Michael W. Green argues, we stopped adjusting the multiplier. We kept the 3x ratio even as the American economy fundamentally changed. Imagine using the roadmap from 1963 to drive across the country today. You'd be lost. Yet, that's exactly what we're doing with our definition of financial health. Think about it. If the metric we use to decide who needs help is based on how much food they can buy, but food is no longer the main driver of poverty, then millions of people are being excluded from aid. They are the invisible poor. Green calls the continued use of this number a political failure. It allows politicians to claim victory over poverty while real hardship skyrockets beneath the surface. The author's entire thesis rests on one undeniable fact. Household spending has undergone a seismic shift. The charts referenced in Green's article visually demonstrate this massive change. Today, due to industrialization and global supply chains, food at home is a much smaller portion of a family's budget, often less than 10%, not 33%. What replaced food? Shelter. Housing costs, rent, mortgage, utilities, have exploded, particularly in high-opportunity zones. They now routinely consume 30, 40, or even 50% of an average worker's paycheck. You can't multiply a food budget by 3 to cover that. Then there's healthcare. In 1963, healthcare was relatively cheap. Today, for many families, health insurance premiums, deductibles, and copays are a second mortgage. Green's minimum budget calculation must include the cost of being sick in the 21st century. And finally, childcare. For most families today, a stay-at-home parent is often an economic impossibility. Full-time childcare for 2 children can easily exceed the cost of an entire college tuition. It's a prerequisite for working, yet it's not factored into the old poverty benchmark. This is why the author concludes that if we were to apply Orshansky's original logic, basing the benchmark on the inverse of the food share, the multiplier today would be closer to 16, not 3. 16 times the minimum food cost to achieve financial adequacy. Green takes this calculation and breaks down a minimum budget for a family of 4, a budget that includes health insurance, a modest used car, rent, and childcare. He finds that the expenses alone require an income far higher than what most people consider middle class. This broken benchmark doesn't just make us feel poor, it dictates who gets help. This is the real-world consequence that Green highlights. The line of eligibility for almost every major anti-poverty program is tied to that flawed $31,200 number. Consider a single mother working 2 jobs earning $50,000. The government's official stance is that she is well above the poverty line and should be self-sufficient. But if she suddenly loses Medicaid or food stamp eligibility at that level, while still facing $2,000 a month in rent and $1,500 in childcare, she is actually poorer than she was with the aid. This also completely distorts the minimum wage debate. When critics argue that a $15 minimum wage is enough, they are often comparing it to the official, broken poverty line. They argue it brings a worker to twice the poverty level. But if the true poverty line is $130,000, then a single full-time worker at $15 an hour is still severely income inadequate. Based on Green's analysis, the average American family making the national median income of around $80,000 is technically living an income inadequate life. They are struggling not because they are financially irresponsible, but because the cost of 21st century survival is simply too high, and the benchmarks used to measure it are half a century out of date. This broken benchmark has essentially hidden the scale of hardship from the public and policymakers, allowing these crisis-level costs to balloon unchecked. So, what's the path forward? Green isn't the only one sounding the alarm. The government actually has an alternative measure, the Supplemental Poverty Measure, or SPM. The SPM is a much better metric. It includes regional costs, taxes, and government benefits, making it a more dynamic measure. But critically, it remains supplemental. It doesn't trigger policy or eligibility. The core message from Michael W. Green's article is that we need to acknowledge the depth of the lie. We need a new, federally adopted benchmark, one based on actual regional costs for housing, healthcare, and childcare, not just the cost of food. If the government isn't going to fix the line, we have to demand they fix the costs. We hope you liked the video. Please do let us know your viewpoints. Hit that like button, subscribe for more breakdowns, and let me know in the comments, if the true poverty line is over $130,000, what does that make of your current income?